Good morning, everyone, and Chodesh Tov, a good new month. So they say in Africa, they have a very interesting way of catching monkeys. They put out a jar of nuts, and the monkey goes to get the nuts, and he puts his hand into the jar of nuts, and he grabs a handful of nuts. But the neck of the bottle is a narrow neck, and his hand is filled with nuts, and he can't get his hand out of the jar. And then those who are trying to catch the monkeys come and trap the monkeys. Now, if the monkey had a little seichel, he would let go of some of the nuts and take his hand out with some. But because he's being greedy and trying to grab everything, he gets trapped. And it's a metaphor for life. That many times when we try to grab too much, it weighs us down, and it doesn't allow us to set ourselves free. And the Talmud actually says, tafasta meruba lo tafasta. If you try to grab too much in life, sometimes you grab nothing. So grab in moderation. And that's really the whole basis of negotiations. When you talk about negotiations, they say a good negotiation is when both parties are equally unhappy. Everyone has to let go a little bit. Everyone has to give a little bit. And you compromise. And through that, you find peace. But here we find Moshe Rabbeinu going to Paro after the 7th plague. And it seems that Paro had enough. He's ready to negotiate. He's ready to compromise with Moshe. And what does he say to Moshe? He says, okay, I'm ready to talk about the freedom of the Jews, but who's going? Who are you taking? So Moshe Rabbeinu says, we're going to take the elders, we're going to take the youth, the children, and we're going to take the men, we're going to take the women, and we're also going to take our entire families, and our flock with us. So Paro says, I'll tell you what, L'chuna hagvarim, I'll let the elders go, because you said you got to go worship God in the desert. For worshiping God, you only need the grown-ups. The kids should stay behind. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, no deal. If the kids can't come, we're not going. So the deal is off. He brings the plague of locusts and the plague of darkness. Now he already had 9 plagues. Paro's really had it up to here. His servants are coming and saying, how much longer are we going to suffer, Paro? Strike a deal with Moshe. Enough is enough. So now Paro calls Moshe back to the palace. He calls him back. Vayushav es Moshe. They bring Moses and Aaron back. And he says, okay, listen, I'll tell you what. You could take the elders, and you could even take the children. But leave the animals. Leave the cattle and the flock behind. Paro's trying to save face, you know, he looks like he lost. So he has to show you, I negotiated a deal, I kept the animals. And listen to what Moshe says to Paro. You would think Moshe would grab it. Okay, we'll leave the animals, as long as we get the families, men, women, and children. Moshe says, nothing doing. Not only are we not leaving behind our sheep and our cattle, but you need to give us some of your animals and flock, because we're going out in the desert. We don't know how many animals we're going to need to sacrifice to God. Till we get there, we're not going to know how many we need. So not only are we not going to leave behind our animals, you will give us some of your animals. Now, what kind of a negotiating tactic is this? You know, usually you throw someone a bone, you give them something so they could save face. Moshe Rabbeinu ups the ante. First he said, I just want men, women, and children, and the animals. Now he wants Paro to give him animals. Well, how do you expect to reach a resolution? Well, Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching us a timeless lesson. Yeah, when you have a dispute with a friend, with a family member, you negotiate, you compromise, you give a little bit. Absolutely, to make peace, you do that. But when you're negotiating with evil, you don't give an inch. You don't give anything. Because there's no negotiating with evil people. Because if you give them anything, that will be their stronghold. They won't keep their word anyways, and they will use that as a way to come against you. And therefore, when you're dealing with evil, you never negotiate. Today is the 75th day of the liberation of Auschwitz, 1945. It's been deemed International Holocaust Memorial Day. We all remember what happened on September 30th, 1938. Chamberlain came back from Munich and said, peace in our times. We made peace with Hitler. And we see how that turned out. 6 million Jews were murdered. We never make peace with evil people. And today, whether it's Iran, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Hezbollah, there's a big meeting in Washington tomorrow called the Big Peace Deal. And Netanyahu and Gantz are coming to Washington. I hope they'll learn this week's Torah portion and the lessons, not just from Paro, but from Hitler, that when it comes to evil people, there is no way that we could ever make any peace. We cannot cede anything to evil people. because they don't keep their word and they will use whatever you give them against you in the future. Amen.